Welcome to the show. Watching UAP Truth 33. I'm John. I'm your host. Excuse me. Hope everybody's well. I'm doing good. I'm glad you guys tuned in. What'd you guys think of the show yesterday? The part 3, Matthew Brown, and the breakdown on what exactly is occurring with this whole UAP situation, this secrecy, this hoarding of technology. He spoke of science is being suppressed. That basically our whole reality is this carefully constructed illusion to keep us in the dark about a large part of the reality that's around us. That they've effectively classified truth. And you just have to go back to the episode with Amy Eskridge and where I talk about Dr. Ning Lee. And it seems like when I speak about these people, for some reason it doesn't get out. It doesn't get out to a larger audience. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Amy Eskridge and Dr. Ning Lee were very gifted scientists who were working on anti-gravitic technologies. Amy Eskridge actually spoke of two different factions, one encouraging her to develop the science, the other telling her, basically threatening her life. And it's a very sad story because to this day, people think that she basically offed herself, which I think couldn't be farther from the truth. There's actually an MI6 gentleman who was good friends of hers that said she was happy and, in good spirits the very day that she was supposedly, that she said that was said to have unalived herself. It was a disturbing episode for me just because I kind of like watching interviews with her and listening to her speak. And she was speaking about the harassment and, it was electronic, it was physical, it was psychological. She was being harassed on a multitude of fronts, people breaking into her house and such. And I just bring this up again. I know I did an episode on it, but I bring this up again just because the way Matthew Brown said yesterday, how in the interview on Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, for those of you who don't know who Matthew Brown is, he's the newest whistleblower to come out. He worked in the Pentagon. He basically, there's like a private internet that's used, and he came across documents, footage, all these other top secret things. Damn. He came across all these top secret things, even conversations between the head of Aero and then Senator Marco Rubio, who's now our Secretary of State, I believe, maybe. Yeah, Secretary of State. And basically that the wool was being pulled over not only Congress's eyes, but the population of the United States was being pretty much kept in the dark about UAPs. And so in that episode, Matthew Brown, he ended up whistleblowing, and he actually turned in the Immaculate Constellation document that he authored to Congress at the last UAP hearing whenever they had Lou Elizondo testify, Michael Gold from NASA, Tim Gallaudet, and Michael Schellenberger. And he turned over this Immaculate Constellation document, which I did a whole episode on the Immaculate Constellation document. If you haven't watched that episode, I implore you to go back and watch it. I go through that document in depth where he speaks of the different types of UAP, the different types of, shapes and sizes that they come in. He also goes into the different interactions that they've had with our military that was previously unknown to us. And he goes into a lot of the reasons why we don't shoot at these things. All very interesting. But anyway, in that part 3 interview with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, I'll leave a link in the description. I did yesterday too, but I'll do it again today. in that interview, if you haven't watched it, please go back and watch it. It's an awesome interview, and he speaks about how we live in this like carefully constructed illusion, this dream type of construct, and that you know there's only a few very powerful people who have access to these exotic technologies that not even our military really has access to these technologies that maybe sometimes they may be granted permission to use them in a very limited way, but that these technologies are kept by a secret global cabal. And a lot of you are probably wondering, like, what does that mean? Well, it's like there's like a secret global corporate governmental people from a lot of different financial, you know, people from all these different areas of power that have basically come together and basically organized, and they're using these technologies, these sciences, all this knowledge, and they're using it for their own ends, um, for their own benefit, and they're keeping it from the rest of us. And that there's this almost like we live in a matrix of such, only not like the movie, much more boring. Um, so I've been researching a lot of things, and I've been checking out the NRO, and a lot of people say, "Well, where's the evidence that UAPs are real?" And I say that there's an abundance of evidence. As a matter of fact, there's so much evidence that the fact that this is even being questioned still is a joke to me. So today I'm going to show you some documentation that I found from the NRO showing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases of pilots that reported interactions with UAPs during their flights. And these are basically the brief summaries of the reports. So without further ado, today I'm going to show you this abundance of evidence straight from the National Archives. Let's get into it, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, check this out. All right, folks. What we're looking at here is, I just want you guys to just really look at this list. Okay, here we go. This is all from the National Archives. This says just cases of pilots being confronted with UAPs, seeing multiples of UAPs. Just look at how long this list is. It just goes on and on and on. It's just really a long list. Go back and just wild cases here. I'll just pick one at random and we'll just take a look, man, see what it is. There's a lot of acronyms that I'm not really familiar with. Of course, like um, flight level 400. I don't really know. I know what NORAD is, and I'm assuming you guys know what NORAD is. A lot of these acronyms I'm not that familiar with. Um, but these are pilots coming in contact with UAPs, and all these cases are closed. Um, you can go in the National Archives and research this, pull these things up. And like here, you see what this one is: several reports of UFO sightings between St. Louis, Missouri, and SGF, Springfield, Missouri. Advised here are no reports of any space debris reentry. This was an A320 aircraft. It's a commercial aircraft. Aircraft reported unidentified aerial phenomena off the right side while northwest bound. I guess FL 360. Not really sure what that is. Um, See, southeast. Unknown phenomenon was three lights turning on and off above the horizon, stationary. And you guys can go and find these yourself on the National Archives website. They're gonna be releasing more and more photos, videos, and documentation relating to UAPs. They're not going to announce it, so if you go to the National Archives, you can just keep checking back. Possible UFO sighting in vicinity of Amarillo, Texas. Contacted NORAD, who reports no known activity. Station would be visible from that vicinity, and in that time frame, I find it hard to believe that a pilot's going to misidentify a space station with a UAP, but it's possible. So I just want you guys to see the mass amounts. People say there's no evidence. Here it is, man. These are pilot reports from pilots. I just want to show you guys the mass amounts of reports. That goes all the way back. This is just, I believe it starts in like 2007, I think. This one here's from 2009. Several reports of UFO sightings between St. Louis. Here, one of these bigger ones, these bigger files. Aircraft reported an unidentified aerial phenomenon off the 12 o'clock overhead while southwest bound in the vicinity. I don't know where ESL Vortac is, but maybe you guys do. The unknown phenomenon was described as a string of bright lights. The event lasted 4 or 5 minutes. They give you the altitude. I guess they had a autopilot system failure while directly underneath this UAP. UFO lights turned off, and the flight crew could still observe that there was something there. The flight crews reported sighting the same light phenomenon and held a discussion about what they saw. Some of these are pretty wild. 2022. You can tell the newer ones from the older ones, right? The older ones from like '09, 2010, they say UFO. 2020 on UAP, or just very interesting how they just changed the acronym of that. Aircraft report an unidentified aerial phenomena above aircraft while southeast bound. The unknown phenomenon was described as lights, no control, traveling at approximately FL 600 or above. Information reported to the National UFO Reporting Center. On August 17, 2022, aircraft reported unidentified aerial phenomenon from the front side while northeast bound. The unknown phenomenon was a bright light in a holding pattern in the upper atmosphere. And they give the longitude and latitude. Two other aircraft reported seeing the same object, which was kind of like credibility to this object was really there. Or would you think like maybe these are ours? Are they seeing military aircraft? Or is this truly something otherworldly? Good question. But I just really, I'm showing you guys this just to show you the amount of evidence that there is. When these people, these skeptics say, "Oh, there's no evidence," and one of the reasons why they're so hard to photograph, a lot of scientists and physicists have come out and said that it's because they have like a field around them. It's like they're in this bubble, you know, and that what we're seeing might only be a small representation of what's actually there. Like we only might be seeing a small piece of the aircraft, you know. This might be why it appears as like a silver ball, just a light, you know. But this one is from October 22nd, 2022. Aircraft reported unidentified aerial phenomenon The unknown phenomenon was manned jetpack hovering at about I remember these ones, 8,000 feet. They're saying they seen a man on a jetpack. And there was a lot of these out of LA, LAX. There was a bunch of reports of these sightings of man men in jetpacks. I often wonder if it was maybe a jellyfish type shaped craft that they just misidentified. This one here was from New Jersey. Well, we got something going on here. But all flights reported an identified aerial phenomenon after 12 o'clock while eastbound at varying altitudes and distances. They reported orbs of light moving in various directions. Wow. And I guess these are all the flights right here that's seeing these orbs. So all those flights saw these UAP in the sky that night. They were all commercial flights. More evidence. The phenomenon was red and white lights traveling northwestbound. And some of you may say, well, that's a plane. But I highly doubt that a pilot's going to misidentify another plane. All right, so let's get out of here. Show you guys some other. See that? You know, just here's another one. Hopefully, my frame's not in the way. Here's another one. These are from 1964, folks. June of 64. Before AI, before all that, from the National Archives dump. So I really just wanted to show you guys the amount of evidence that's out there. And this is just basically not even the tip of the iceberg. I just wanted to show you the amount of aircraft that have reported UAPs over the years. And just imagine all the ones that didn't report it. All the ones that didn't want to be labeled, didn't want to be like stigmatized. Let's not forget about that 1986 or 87, the one that happened in Alaska where the UAP was like, they said it was the size of an aircraft carrier, that it made the 747 appear small next to it, that it followed it when it was doing like 360 maneuvers trying to get away from this thing. Uh, that was a Japanese airline, very famous case. And this is the thing. So all these pilots are seeing something. Not all of them are misidentifying, satellites, space stations. Of course, maybe some of them are. We saw a couple of those reports that said it was balloons. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the pilots just said balloons because they didn't want to appear crazy. But if it's a big enough deal to report, I would think there's something of substance there. That there's something to report there. It's all very interesting, and the fact that people are asleep. I'm telling you, that is skeptics. The skeptics are being left behind here, and when it becomes overly apparent, they're going to be lost in the sauce. So I just want to do a quick show for you guys today. Watch the UAP Truth with John. Thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Please swing over to my Patreon. I often release episodes early over there. Right now, it's all open to the public. You don't actually even have to become a member. You can just go over there, check it out, watch it. If you want to become a member, that's fine. You want to buy me a cup of coffee? Cool. Whatever. You want to support the channel, that's great. If not, that's fine. But just thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate all of you. Please feel free to comment, share it with a friend, share it with 2 friends. If you want to take this, slice it up, and make your own content out of it, feel free to do that. I have no problem with any of that. Give you permission. But that's it for today. So until tomorrow, peace.